Recently, there has been a miasma of Intel rumors suggesting everything from Nova Lake AX, which is, of course, going to be the Zen 6 Medusa Halo competitor, rumors that it's canceled, which it isn't canceled, by the way, and I'll show you proof of that later, to arguments over if E-cores will be removed in future architectures, which they will, by the way, and I have proof of that as well. And there's even been back and forth as to how many GPU cores Intel's Halo competitors are going to have, which is interesting because I've already posted documents months ago showing that it's going to be 32 Xe 3P cores the entire time. And yeah, that's what it is, and they're not canceled. Now, to be fair to the people that are confused out there, there's been a lot of changes going on behind the scenes at Intel with their roadmaps. And so I don't really blame anybody for getting some of their wires crossed. And I'm not trying to throw shade on anyone out there claiming to have conflicting insider information. It is pretty confusing actually at Intel right now. But I do want that confusion to stop, and so, well, that gets us to today's leak. Now, first, let me flip through a few Intel documents that will clear things up and also prove some very exciting things about their future architectures before I go through a full summary of the information. So let's get right into it. Alright, so now with this first slide here about the Razer Lake product family, which is the product line that we'll be launching, about a year-ish after Nova Lake. This product line here, there's not a ton new on this page, right? It's going to have the same core counts as Nova Lake. I've already said that. I've said it will be a modest upgrade, although it will be for the products that get the new Griffin Cove P cores. It'll be a decent upgrade, but think of it kind of like, I don't know, like Panther Lake. This isn't an Alder Lake revolution here. This is a slight increase in IPC and just little tweaks here and there. A quick follow-on to the revolutionary architecture, or the more revolutionary than this one, Nova Lake. But there are some things that we have to call out here. First of all, this is something I've said before, but now I just want to be very clear and upfront about it. A lot of the Razer Lake product line is just going to be rebrands of Nova Lake. Like it clearly just says here for Razer Lake U, H, and P, these are mobile products, that these are all just going to be rebrands of Nova Lake products that were already being sold for a while. Now, in addition to that, though, that also answers what's going on with Nova Lake AX. Nova Lake AX is not canceled. It's still called Nova Lake AX on pretty much every document inside of Intel. It's just that product line, the AX, the Halo competitors, they're coming a bit after the standard ones, and Intel feels they're launching so close to Razer Lake that they might as well just call them Razer Lake. I mean, especially if they're going to just shamelessly call Nova Lake rebrands Razer Lake. Why can't they just do the same with Nova Lake AX? That's what they're doing. And make no mistake about it, despite being called Razer Lake in the future, it will have the same Coyote Cove P cores that Nova Lake has, the same Arctic Wolf E cores that Nova Lake has. It really is the same thing as Nova Lake AX. But that is where there are some differences with the Razer Lake lineup. You see, on desktop and on mobile HX, there will be a new compute die that drops in to give you more performance. These will get the Griffin Cove P cores, which should have more IPC, like I said, and then it's interesting, actually. It says on this document here, in many documents, Arctic Wolf is still what the E-cores will be, but one source did tell me they may market them as Golden Eagle E-cores. But there's basically Arctic Wolf Plus at most. And they want this to come out very quickly after Nova Lake. Like, I'm told directly, and this is exciting, that Intel's still going to try to get Nova Lake Desktop out before the end of this year, and then they want Razer Lake Desktop to come out before the end of next year, 2027. And they think they might be able to accomplish that because the only thing they're changing is a new compute die with the better Griffin Cove cores, and maybe they'll be called Golden Eagle E-cores. That's it. They're not going to change any of the other chiplets on the desktop or on any other products. Most of it's going to be Nova Lake rebrands with tweaks and maybe slight efficiency boosts. So they really think they may be able to follow on quickly so that Nova Lake competes with Zen 6, and then Razer Lake is ready to compete with Zen 7 by the time it launches, which, by the way, yes, I do think it will compete with Zen 7 because Zen 7, from what I'm told, is quite a bit ahead of schedule, actually. And, subscribe to the channel. There's another big Zen 6, Zen 7 video coming out very soon as well. But let's move on to the next slide here. So the next slide is for the Titan Lake family, which should launch somewhere in 2028 or 2029. And it's blurry on this slide, But if you look really closely, you can maybe make out, or I can actually, that it says Copper Shark for both the P and the E cores. That's right. And I think there's a lot of confusion over what cores Titan Lake will use, and this is why. It's because Intel never admits when they're wrong, right? They're still not admitting that they've effectively canceled Arc, even though no dedicated Arc graphics cards came to laptop after Alchemist. There's no Battle Mage dedicated graphics cards in laptops, and there's no high-end Battle Mage. They've removed Celestial and Druid from all of their roadmaps, and yet they're still pretending nothing really changed. No, oh, I was wrong, blah, blah, blah. It's the same with E-cores. They know E-cores were a complete market failure. That's why they're removing them. But what they're going to do is basically, from what I'm told, the same thing AMD does with C-cores, which is just dense versions of the normal architecture, and they'll just still call those E-cores. So you're going to see E-cores thrown around on a lot of documents, but know that when you see it, it still says Copper Shark P and Copper Shark E. It is all Copper Shark. It's just dense Copper Shark that they will call E-cores. And by the way, I do want to say that I think that is a marketing mistake. If you've realized that E-cores are a mistake, don't keep calling them E-cores even if they're not E-cores, Intel. Just drop it. Stop it. There's no point. Even if some of them are dense cores, they're still effectively big cores. AMD's realized this and just calls everything Zen 4, Zen 5 sometimes. And that's the smart thing to do. But anyways, another thing to note on here that is big information, stuff that I've already leaked, but here's the proof of it, is, as you can see, they're rebranding into the sunset, basically, their XE3 stuff forever for low-end things, from what I can tell. But then they have their larger iGPU tiles, and it just says medium and large. Doesn't say architecture. People, those are Nvidia tiles. That's what that's going on right there. And Titan Lake and later should continue to use Nvidia tiles in many products. So that's what that is, which I think is very exciting. Oh, and one more thing here that I think is going to make everybody grim. Look right there. Nova Lake, Razer Lake, Hammer Lake, pin-compatible S-socket. I've been saying it for a very long time. People have been doubting my leaks that Intel would put 3 architectures on one socket. They are going to. Multiple documents call that out. Again, just like multiple documents that I have and that I've leaked call out that Zen 6 and even Zen 7 will still work on AM5. So that's awesome for longevity from both Intel and AMD moving forward and for competition. But if you ask me, that is not the most exciting information that I have to share with you today, and I think it's about time we get to the most exciting details that have to do with Thunderhawk, a unified architecture that brings back features people have been sorely missing in the Intel ecosystem for years now, after an ad from a sponsor. This piece of content is brought to you by David. So, for the past few months, me and actually especially my girlfriend have been loving the packages of David protein bars that we had sent to us. David has stood out as one of our favorite things that I've been sponsored by because we keep eating them months after the ad deal started. And it's because they've delivered on everything. Taste, texture, and macros. Seriously, it tastes and feels like cookie dough in your mouth, and yet you don't feel like you just ate candy afterwards. That makes it the perfect like late night snack if I'm working on one of those videos. Like I actually do keep some next to me here in case I get hungry at like 9, 10, or 11 p.m. while I'm just trying to get that leak out for you all before I go to bed. And so I actually still do use them for that purpose. And so it's easy for me to recommend, whether you want the gold bars, the 28 grams of protein, 150 calories, 0 sugar, and about 75% of the calories in those are from protein. I like these ones the most, but then there's also the bronze bars that are a bit more indulgent with 20 grams of protein, still 150 calories, still 0 sugar, but about 53% of the calories come from protein, which is still industry leading, and my girlfriend actually loves those ones the most. So if anything, gold is discipline, bronze is decadence, but either way, whichever one you want, maximum protein or still just industry leading with maybe a bit of a different texture, either way, they have you covered at David. And so I have to say, their stuff is built on real evidence-based nutrition. It's designed to support muscle gain, fat loss, and performance without relying on gimmicks or sugar spikes. They're also gluten-free and blood sugar friendly, so you don't get that crash afterwards. I don't crash. I can eat a bar and keep working late at night without knowing there's like a ticking time bomb before I crash even harder than when I started eating the bar. And so if you want to try them, David is offering my viewers a special deal. When you get 4 cartons, you get the 5th one free if you use my link below or the QR code on screen. And if you don't want to wait, you can also find find David protein bars at Target, Walmart, Kroger, Publix, and other locations. Although, of course, I'd prefer most if you did it through the link in the description. But either way, support Moore's Law is Dead by checking out David through the link below today. All right, now there's one last little bit of information here that I want to get to and show you, but I have to say that I have a bunch of stuff about Hammer Lake, which is what comes after Titan Lake. But it's too soon to show it. And it's too soon to show it for a couple reasons. First of all, safety. Something that far away, like 4 years away or something, it's not usually safe to leak those documents. It could get some people in trouble. And so I'm not going to do it for that reason alone. But additionally, it doesn't really make sense to tell you everything I know about Hammer Lake right now. Just like it doesn't make sense for me to tell you everything about Zen 8 or Zen 9. The specs are changing constantly, like back and forth, up and like it's just completely like. I guess what I'll hint is that Hammer Lake might have just a boatload of cores, and including P cores. Like I know that one of the high-end variants they're throwing around, which again they've changed the specs on this thing in some documents like 3 times in the past month, so I don't know if this will stand, but dozens of P cores, and then many, many, many more E cores, which are really just C core variants of Thunderhawk, which I can exclusively leak today, though, that the architecture for the cores in Hammer Lake is called Thunderhawk. It is the 2nd generation of unified core that will come out of Intel, and it will be used for both the P and the E cores, or if it was AMD, the classic and the dense cores. Although I was okayed by a source to show a couple of things, and so let's get to some really fun stuff here. So first of all, on this slide, I need to note that this is, I guess I won't be specific. This is a part of the Thunderhawk lineup. And as you can see, it has 8 P cores and 0 E cores. You know, this will probably be in something, I guess I'll say, you know, like an i3 or i5 tier, which by the way, on their documents, they still just say i3 and i5. No one says it ultra bullshit. But anyways, trying to stay on subject here. This is important because, well, some very high-end, I think, flagship desktop products that they'll want to have maximum multi-threading performance and reviews will get E cores or really dense cores in the future. And well, of course, they'll still use dense cores in laptop like AMD does and for server products. It seems like a lot of the lineup now will just be only P cores, and that means only classic cores moving forward. So they're kind of copying AMD and just going, you know what, you just want all real cores, and you want them to be clocked as fast as possible. We're not going to bother with the E core, the C core crap on desktop. They will with some things from what I've seen, but most of the lineup truly is, well, this is the death of E cores, which I think is very exciting, but also exciting. Did you notice it? SMT. Yep, a bunch of docs say hyperthreading is coming back with Thunderhawk. And in fact, I've heard that potentially Titan or Serpent Lake, whatever they end up calling those products, might get SMT as well. Although right now that's not confirmed. It is confirmed that they plan to have hyperthreading working by Thunderhawk after they kill off E-cores. But there's even a chance it could come before like that generation, before 2030. And either way, I think this is incredibly exciting. Oh, and DDR5. Just like AMD with Zen 7, they plan to use DDR5 for a very long time. Looks like we won't be seeing DDR6 on consumer products maybe until the 2030s, actually, from both AMD and Intel. And all right, I want to summarize this information with a few more details on a leak slide, and that is what is on screen right now. Let's not waste any time and get right into the summary of today's Intel Razer, Titan, and Hammer Lake leak from, of course, May of 2026. So point number 1, Nova Lake AX is not canceled. It is just being rebranded as Razer Lake AX. It still utilizes the same stuff from Nova Lake: Coyote Cove P cores, Arctic Wolf E cores, and that 32XE3P design that I exclusively leaked actually a year ago. There's no need to debate about this. I've had up-to-date information on this since last year, and the latest information I have just basically says they realized that Nova Lake AX would be coming out like, I don't know, 6 months to a year after Nova Lake Desktop, actually around when Razer Lake launches a desktop. So they might as well just call it Razer Lake as well. Now, point number 2, Nova Lake will also get rebranded as Razer Lake UHP low-end laptop, or mid-range. Actually, it's not really low-end, but non-high power laptop variants, and even some low-end i5, i3 desktop SKUs as well. The reason Razer Lake is going to be able to come out possibly by the end of next year, right after Nova Lake, is there's really just one compute tile they are working on to update part of that product line, and that will get Griffin Cove P-cores, which are going to be notably faster than Coyote Cove. Just don't expect it to be like Alder Lake. And then also Arctic Wolf, I would call them plus E-cores. Technically, every document I have still calls it Arctic Wolf, but I have had at least one source suggest something that I've seen other people say online, that maybe they'll call it Golden Eagle for marketing purposes, but it will really just be for marketing purposes from what I can tell. All right, now point number 3, Titan Lake should launch 2028. Yes, again, I know Intel's moving quickly here, but note that Titan Lake is not coming to desktop, so that's probably why they can do that. And you should really think about Titan Lake as an experimental generation. You know, like half of the lineup reuses Razer Lake CPU dies to not complicate things as they try to introduce Nvidia iGPU tiles for the first time in their product line. They don't want anything to get in the way of that. That's why they're rebranding the CPU on that end to go with the Nvidia GPU chiplets. But then on the other half of the lineup, they actually are experimenting again. If you look at point number 4, the non-Halo variants, so the non-Nvidia tile variants of Titan Lake effectively remove E-cores. Now look, Intel may still call some cores E-cores in the future, but my understanding is that these are what AMD would call C-cores. They're just dense cores of the same architecture. And so, yeah, Copper Shark cores will be the first Intel unified core for a part of the Titan Lake lineup. I think that is incredibly exciting. Also note, I've seen other people out there say something about Serpent Lake. I've not seen that on any single document that I have. And some of my documents that I've shared with you today, or parts of them, are very up to date. So maybe Serpent Lake will be used as a marketing term to make NVIDIA APUs look more exciting, but that's all that is. Right now, behind the scenes, they call everything Titan. Moving on here to point number 5, Hammer Lake, which comes out after Titan Lake, will be the second gen of unified cores from Intel and should be a full lineup spanning mobile and desktop, probably workstation as well, with this new unified Thunder Hawk cores. Now, it's not all. Documents also state that hyperthreading is making a return with Thunderhawk, which I think is incredibly exciting. Additionally, it's clear that much of the lineup only utilizes full P-core variants of Thunderhawk, so they're going to move more and more towards segmenting their desktop products in the same way that AMD does. And then finally, all documents that I have that go into like roadmaps and these architectures, somewhere on them at some point say that Nova Lake, Razer Lake, and Hammer Lake all share the same desktop socket. That is right, everybody. Intel is actually going to support multiple generations of entirely different architectures on the same socket, finally. Okay, and so now there's just one more thing to do, and that's discuss the competitiveness of Intel's upcoming products that I've shown you today with AMD's upcoming Zen 6, 7, and 8 products. And the fact of the matter is, the winner will be, guys, it's just way too soon to say. I'm sorry. There's no way I can honestly tell you with a straight face if Hammer Lake will beat Zen 7 or Zen 8, if Razer Lake will destroy Zen 6 or 7. I don't know for sure. What I can tell you, though, is that as exciting as Thunderhawk looks, Zen 7 looks equally insane. And let's really just be clear about how this is all going to probably pan out. At the very end of this year, I believe you will see Nova Lake desktop launch, and we'll have to see if it takes the gaming crown from Zen 5X3D, but it will certainly take the multi-threading crown and the efficiency crown as well. It's not even going to be close. It's using radically better nodes than what Zen 5 uses. It's still using 4 nanometer and 6 nanometer. So it should take most performance crowns, but gaming is up for debate. But then by the first half of next year, we will see Zen 6 launch as well. I'm not going to spoil too much about what I know, but I have a Zen 6 and Zen 7 leak coming, and let's just say that AMD probably isn't going to hold back with their first wave of products that come out in terms of what kinds of performance they're going to give you out of the gate. That's all I'll say for now. So you're seeing Nova Lake launch late this year, take some crowns or all from AMD, and then you're seeing Zen 6 launch first half of next year. I think probably take the gaming crown, multi-threading will be competitive, and then at the very end of 2027, Razer Lake will launch, and I don't know if it will take the gaming crown, but probably just trade blows with Zen 6 in general. And then in 2028, you will see Zen 7 launch, I believe, to desktop, and then that will probably take crowns back. Well, Titan Lake, and maybe there will be a Serpent Lake, I don't know, is really competitive in laptop. And then in 2029, you will have this big new revolutionary architecture update with Hammer Lake competing with probably still Zen 7 X3D products, which remember go up to 72 cores potentially. That leak that was pulled from YouTube, by the way, is now just in a live stream if you want to see that. And then, yeah, I guess we'll see what happens after Hammer Lake and what will compete with Zen 8. But that's the rollout. Intel should take most crowns this year. AMD takes some back early next year. Razer Lake trades blows late next year. Then Zen 7 probably launches before Hammer Lake. I don't know, though. Maybe Hammer Lake will be able to compete directly with it. But Intel will still have Titan Lake and Mobile to compete with Zen 7 APUs. And then Hammer Lake will launch with a revolutionary second-gen unified architecture and probably NVIDIA iGPU tiles and all this other stuff, and it's going to be crazy. So all I can say is that whether it's 70 around, I think it might be Thunder Hawk cores from Intel, or 72 Steamboat cores from AMD, I think the stuff that we have right now is going to look like firecrackers compared to the sticks of dynamite that we'll be launching over the next few years. And yes, I know it sounds crazy how fast these things will be rolling out, but I think AMD and Intel are going to launch products and update them at a breakneck pace because they have to, because of how much competition they will be receiving from each other. Long live competition. All right, that's going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure that you like it, that you share it, that you comment down below. I discussed a lot of things today. I am curious what you guys think about this. And like, for example, like, tell me, like, are you more interested in the longevity of Intel's platform or AMD's platform that will still get Zen 6 and Zen 7 and Zen 7 X3D? I think that's really up for debate. Also, make sure that you are subscribed to the Moore's Law is Dead YouTube channel and double check, because I think YouTube just did a wave of unsubscriptions. Like, they do this sometimes, or they unsubscribe a bunch of people. I noticed like 100 people just got unsubscribed out of nowhere, despite my content getting upvoted and doing fine. Double check that, but then also consider joining the Moore's Law is Dead Patreon as well. We have a lot of great upcoming guests. The next guest will be Vex. He's been on a couple times before. If you want to ask Vex questions, we're just going to have a relaxed discussion about what's going on in PC gaming and the gaming landscape in general. Even the $1 tier gets you access to that. And then after Vex, the next guest will be Ed Zitron, who will be coming on right after Computex to discuss all of the AI announcements. If you want to ask Ed Zitron questions, I've seen you in the comments asking him to come on. He's coming on. Join the Patreon at even the $1 level, and you can ask him questions later in a few weeks from now. But for everybody else, if you made it this far into the video, thank you for watching.